leave my phone here for the time, because I have a script and I rarely follow them. So sometimes when I go off script, I lose track of time. This will help me. I want to thank Dawn and Chris for those stories, for sharing with us that very vulnerable idea that home is sometimes the place we have to escape from. The Somali British poet Warsan Shire, who was a refugee whose family escaped war-torn Somalia, she herself was born in a refugee camp in Kenya before, as a young child, her family made their way to England. In a powerful poem about being a refugee and asylum seeker, she says these words that have haunted me since the first time I heard them. No one leaves home unless home is the mouth of a shark. No one leaves home unless home is the mouth of a shark. And for too many of us all over this planet right now, home is indeed the mouth of a shark. Home is the mouth of a shark whose teeth are shaped like the genocidal actions of the Israeli and US governments starving and killing people in Gaza and Palestine. Home is the shape of the war in Ukraine, where the oligarch fascist dictatorship has been killing for years. Home is the shape of the wars, the 57 active conflicts raging on this planet right now. Here in America, home is the shape of the teeth of a shark that looks like the CIA secret war interventions throughout Central and South America for decades, forcing people to flee the mouth of a shark that we made, to come here only to find that that shark had followed him. Its teeth was still here in our cruel, inhumane immigration policies, that the shape of those shark teeth look like ice rounding you up and sending you to a concentration camp. Home is the mouth of a shark that looks like poverty, that looks like homelessness, that looks like sleeping in your car, that looks like working 3 jobs just to make ends meet. Home is the mouth of a shark, and we have to leave it over and over again. In the first 18 years of my life, my family moved 15 times. Not because we wanted to, but so often because poverty forced us to. The desperation and the desperate hope that somewhere home would be better, that somewhere home would not bite into your soul and leave you wounded. That is the shape of the shark teeth that is poverty in America right now, the shape of the teeth that looks like 400 years of slavery and genocidal actions, and that the people who are indigenous to this land, the people who are enslaved in this land, are still second-class citizens. Home here is the mouth of a shark for far too many of us. But home is the mouth of a shark in other more subtle ways. You don't have to be living in poverty or under the threat of war to know what shark teeth feel like. Home is the mouth of a shark that is the feeling of a raised fist, of violence and abuse, of anger that is ever present. Home is benign and sometimes cruel neglect. Home is what so many of us need to escape. Home is the internalized hatred that says you are queer and we do not want you, you are an abomination and you have to leave or change or hide who you are. Home is what so many of us flee, leave, escape. And when we do it, it's for our survival. Another poet you are familiar with, Mary Oliver. In her poem, The Journey, begins by saying, one day you knew what you had to do, and finally you began, though the night was dark, though the angry voices kept shouting their bad advice, but you traveled deeper and deeper into the woods until you finally heard a voice you came to recognize as your own. And you did the only thing you could do. You saved the only life you could save. We flee home, we leave home, we escape it in order to survive. But survival only gets us so far, dear ones. Because when we leave, when we flee, when we're trying to survive, what we find as we look for home somewhere else, home that isn't the mouth of a shark, what we find is that those shark teeth, that the marks of them aren't scars, they're still active wounds, that the bombs are still falling somewhere in our bodies, that the angry voices aren't history, they're still echoing in our ears. Because no matter how far we run, no matter how far we leave, the fact is we all carry home with us. We carry home inside us. And sometimes the trauma of that reverberates over and over. And the things we've done to survive, the knots we've tied ourselves into, the walls that we've built, the masks that we put on until we don't even know where the mask ends and we begin. We needed those to survive, but they keep us from finding true home. They keep us from connecting to each other. But how hard and scary is it to even acknowledge that much? It can feel like that's the whole story. Every single one of us has some kind of trauma. We don't get through life unscathed, but the trauma that lives in us over and over can feel like that's all we'll ever be. But it's not. You're here in this church right now, in your homes, listening to us. You're sitting next to somebody who knows your name. Coming home can be as simple as that. But it's more, because we have to heal those wounds. We have to heal our trauma, and that is, I'm gonna stand up here and acknowledge this, way easier said than done. But there are tools that will help us. There are people who are guiding the way. Somatic practitioners who remind us we can be in our bodies in safe ways, that we must actually be in our bodies, that all those twinges of pain, all those ripples of trauma are messages to us that you are here, you are alive, and if you are breathing, there is still some hope. Prentice Hempel is an African-American queer person, one of the founders of Black Lives Matters, a therapist, a facilitator, an organizer, an embodied practitioner who knows well what trauma feels like in the body and in spaces that you called home with people you trusted. She knows well, I apologize, they know well how to heal from trauma. And in their beautiful book from 2024 called What It Takes to Heal, they talk about trauma. Trauma can make belonging contingent or dangerous, leading us to seek isolation or supremacy. Trauma tells us to keep those walls up. Don't ever take the mask off. Healing from the trauma lets us know we're safe, that home and belonging aren't just possible, but within reach. Hempel says, belonging is our ability to feel that we are part of something, of a community and the world around us. And healing is essential for guiding the how of our visions of the world and community we want to be part of, that we want to make. And in case it's a surprise to anyone, she reiterates a thing I've learned in my own trauma healing, which still pisses me off, pardon my language, which is that healing isn't linear. It's not a one and done. We don't get to do it and say, yay, I'm fixed now. all better. I wanted that. And I've come to accept that, as Hempel says, healing is a process, often lifelong, of restoring and reawakening the capacities for safety, belonging, and dignity on the other side of trauma. Healing doesn't mean we forgive and forget. It doesn't mean we say everything's okay. Things aren't okay. But we learn to be okay with the not okayness of it. Healing is not an acclamation to unjust conditions. It isn't about quieting down or fitting neatly inside what already exists, Hempel says. It's about being engaged, creative, adaptive, and relational. It's not a place you can arrive to. It's the ongoing work of enlivening our interiors, of waking up our souls. Waking up our souls is the work we do in spiritual communities. We are called to do the work of justice because we believe in our value of equity, that every life is worthy, because we believe that our generosity means sharing our resources to create mutual care where you and you and you and we can thrive. That is part of our Unitarian Universalist faith. It's part of creating home. It's part of creating belonging. It's necessary to healing. Being in relationship, acknowledging the interdependent, deeply connected web of life is critical to healing even the most personal of traumas, because trauma is never just individual, and so healing from it can never just be my work alone. It's our work together. And so we engage in the embodied practices that healers teach us: breath work, being in our bodies, paying attention to its messages, meditating, prayer, yoga, running. Whatever it is that helps you be in your body and know this is safety, this is okay, I'm here now. Showing up for each other in community, doing the work that is in your hands right now to do, is the only work any of us have. It's the work of justice, and Hempel says that starts internally. And when we are healing internally, we are bringing that healing into the spaces and people. It is the transformation of self that becomes the transformation of the world. And in transforming the world, the transformation of the self continues. Healing is not that linear journey. It's a cycle. It's a spiral. It's collective. It's lifelong. Showing up for each other in those mutual, interdependent relationships means that when we find belonging, when we create belonging, we do it in the ways that Reverend Misha talked about in our spoken meditation, that we understand that we belong to each other, not as ownership or possession. It is not about a ledger or a leash. It is about mutual love and care. I don't know, but I hope that you have experienced home. That you've walked into a space and seen the faces of people and felt the breath you didn't know you were holding pour out of you, and you could breathe. That you felt the knots in you begin to loosen, that you felt your walls begin to lower, and you felt you could lay your mask down. When I think of home, for years of my adult life, when I talked about home, I meant the hills of eastern Kentucky and Tennessee. And now that I live in Illinois, when I say Milwaukee is home, I think of this place. But also, I will tell you, as much as I love those places. And the hills of eastern Appalachia will always be the most beautiful landscape in the world to me. And the shores of Lake Michigan and the Milwaukee skyline will always take my breath away. But dear ones, it is not the place that is home. When I think of those places, I think of my grandmother's hands in mine and the rhythm and cadence of the language of my extended family. When I think of Milwaukee, I think of the chosen family I have built here, some who are in this room, and always for most of my adult life, now more than half my life, when I say home, I think of my husband's face. I moved so much that place couldn't mean home to me, but I've healed enough that people mean home. The people who let me lay my mask down and show up as my authentic, whole self, who I trust and who let me be trustworthy. That is the practice of healing. That is the practice of mutual care. We show up again and again and again. We break our hearts. We break covenant. We call each other back without shame, without fear, but with love, with tenderness, to say, you belong here. And it is holy work wherever we do that for each other. It is holy work to say, you're no longer in the mouth of the shark. You're no longer on the lonely road. You are here with us. We know you. We love you. This is belonging, and this is coming home. May we make it so, and amen.